Hi guys, I'm Dr. Priya. I'm a holistic life coach, I'm an author, and I'm also a healer. In my previous video, I spoke about childhood and how it affects our entire life. Simple things like having overprotective parents can have such damaging effects in our adult life. Now, what I want you to do is throw in a bit of abuse into this childhood. This abuse could be verbal, could be physical, or could be neglect. Now, I want you to imagine what this child would be when he or she grows up. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about child abuse and its various forms. The abuse that I'm going to be talking about is not in public domain, such as child labor, prostitution, or child marriage. The abuse that I'm going to be talking about is the one that takes place in our homes, by our parents, or in schools. So let's first and foremost begin with understanding what is child abuse. Any behavior that causes harm to a child is child abuse. It can be physical, it can be verbal, it can be sexual, it can be emotional. Mistreatment or neglect of a child, especially by the parents or caregivers. It can happen in our homes, in our schools, or even in organizations where a child interacts in. There are 6 types of abuse that I'm going to be talking about today, and let's look at them one by one and their effects in brief. Let's start with verbal abuse. Verbal abuse, also termed as name calling, can be greatly harmful for a child, extremely hurtful for a child, especially when it's coming from its parents. Research shows that verbal abuse can actually lead to personality disorders and also negatively impact your brain development. Number 2, emotional abuse. Emotional abuse is an act of causing harm to a child's development and failure to providing supportive environment in order for them to develop full and healthy range of emotional abilities. Some of the examples of emotional abuse would be undermining, belittling, humiliating, scaring, threatening, and also restricting movement. Emotional abuse leaves deep scars into your adult life, and it is the hardest to heal from. Number 3, physical abuse. Physical abuse involves slapping, hitting, kicking, biting, and choking. And in extreme cases, it can be burns and scars and broken bones depending on the severity of the physical abuse. Such type of abuse causes serious injury and also can result in death in extreme case scenarios. Number 4 is neglect. Neglect is a treatment by a parent which is done on purpose to cause harm to a child, and it's done by omitting some or all developmental needs of a child. If your emotional or physical needs were not met as a child, it would lead to you being physically, mentally, and psychologically underdeveloped. Number 5, sexual abuse. Sexual abuse is engaging a child in a sexual activity that he or she does not understand and cannot give consent for. It can be conducted by an adult and also by another child who is developmentally superior to the victim. Sexual abuse can have long-lasting damaging effects. Sexual abuse victims suffer from PTSD. They have fear of intimacy, fear of relationships. They can't form relationships, can't sustain relationships, and invariably, due to that, they end up alienated, isolated, and very, very lonely. Number 6, helicopter parenting or pushy parenting. This happens when a parent is so overbearing that a child does not even have any say in minor details of its life. When a parent is pushy, overbearing, and is constantly checking on a child, this leads to child not learning about or understanding about healthy boundaries, and this can lead to deep emotional scars such as lack of confidence, lack of self-esteem, lack of trust, inability to form decisions or take decisions, lack of independence, fear. Child abuse affects normal development of a child, impairing their mental, physical, and their social being. In extreme case scenarios, child abuse can also result in a death of a child. So these were some of the forms of child abuse, which is very common, and also their effects. However, now I would like to talk to a specific set of audience who's watching this video. People who are born in India to Indian parents. Guys, because you will be able to relate to what I'm about to say. India rates highest in child abuse, and 88% of that abuse happens in our homes. And I'll tell you something, most of us were brought up by our parents being verbally abused or physically abused or humiliated, and it was just very normal for us. And you know what we have done is we have actually normalized that abuse because of what we were taught to believe, that our parents know what's best for us and this is for our own good, so on and so forth. And also the structure of the family in our society, you know, the role that our parents play in our lives. Our parents are our primary caregivers even when we grow up and we leave their homes. And also the role of a child in the family dynamic. A child is expected to be obedient and submissive in the family, and to respect the parents and elders, and that is what is expected out of us. However, never mind, even if these adults are abusing us and damaging us for life, we still have to respect them just because they're older, okay? So, for example, and this is something which has impacted us very negatively, guys. Understand something. Now, I'll give you an example. Let's say you were sexually abused by your uncle. First of all, nobody listened to you in your household. Nobody believed you. And even if they did, you were told to shut up and not to bring shame to the family. So what did you do with that? You just live with it, right? So that's exactly what I'm talking about. What would have been life-defining and life-saving for some of us who have gone through something like this, if only we had one responsible adult to take care of our emotional needs. However, that didn't happen. And most of us ended up being wounded for life. Some of us made it through and we healed ourselves, which is a painful and a lengthy process. Some just lived with it because there was no way out. Some cope with addictions just to block out the painful memories, the flashbacks and the nightmares. And some didn't even make it through because they ended up taking their lives too soon. So my reason for making this video is A, I am a long-term child abuse survivor, and I know the effects of this epidemic which is growing in our homes firsthand because I've been through it. And this is what I talk about in details in my book, The Wounded Healer, that how childhood literally changes the course of your entire life. And secondly, I want you to be aware. I want you to be aware of what we have normalized for so long is actually not normal, it's abuse. I want you to connect the dots from your childhood to your adult life and to understand how child abuse can actually change the course of your life. And also, guys, let's not repeat the same mistakes that our parents did. Let's not do the same thing to our children what was done to us in the name of obedience and discipline. Let's recognize this, that this is abuse. It's not normal. Because understand one thing, our parents did the best for us, and however we loved them so much and however well-meaning they were, you know, they did their best. But they still messed us up because they didn't know any better. They were brought up in an unconscious manner and they brought us up in an unconscious manner. Now we're doing the same thing to our children. Our parents were normal people with their own limitations and also with their own unresolved issues. So let's break this generational trauma and let's not carry it from one generation to another so that there are no more wounded and broken adults. In the end, I would like to ask you to ask yourself, how does this video apply to you, to your childhood, to your life? Leave it in the comment section. And I would request you to share this video. Help me to spread the awareness. Share this video with whoever you think will benefit from this video. Show this video to people who are new to parenthood. Show this video to your parents if you feel like. And in case something like this has happened to you guys, please look after yourselves emotionally. None of us were parented emotionally. So take care of yourselves, and in my next video I will be talking about deep impact this epidemic has on our mental and physical health for you to get a better understanding of this. So watch out for that video, guys, and thank you for tuning in wherever you're tuning in, either on Facebook or YouTube, and just look after yourselves, and I will speak with you soon.